My name is Donna Fisher, and I'm about to do a video on the different defense mechanisms we use from the time we're young children up until we're adults when our ego is threatened. I will be going over 8 different defense mechanisms from 4 different levels, and we'll talk about them as I go along. The first defense mechanism level I'm going to talk about are the pathological defense mechanisms. The pathological defense mechanisms are never healthy, and they distort reality to the extent of it being harmful. Children quite commonly use these defense mechanisms. The first defense mechanism I will be talking about in that pathological is denial. Denial is where you deceive yourself unconsciously that something did not happen. Here's an example of denial. This is Nicholas, and he's going to show us a perfect example of denial.
It's my acceptance letter from LR. Dear Nicholas, we regret to inform you that you have been denied admission to Eleanorine University. No, that is not true. That is not true. I was accepted. There must be tons of Nicks trying to get into LR. They made a mistake. This is not me. This is... No.
This is a perfect example of denial. The next level of defense mechanisms we're going to talk about are the immature defense mechanisms. This is the second level, and they are not as effective as higher level defense mechanisms. When you are using immature defense mechanisms, you are seriously out of touch with reality. The first defense mechanism we're going to talk about in the immature level is projection. Projection is where you project your own issues on someone else. And they're going to act out projection.
I got my report card today. A C- in home ec, a D in pre-algebra, an F in intro to reading, a D+ in life skills, a C+ in course, and a B- in PE. What'd you do on your report card, Nicholas?
Well, I got an A+ in German, trig, English, civics, and an A- in physics, and a C in band.
These grades are terrible, Nicholas. I mean, don't you want to go to college? Don't you want to do something with your life? Do you want to flip burgers at McDonald's? I mean, you could go to Lenore Rhine, but instead you make such terrible grades that no college will want you. Not even University of Phoenix online. Really, Nicholas? You need to do better.
This is a perfect example of projection. We're going to do another immature defense mechanism now, and that is idealization. Idealization is where you unconsciously perceive others as being better than what they are. Now this one is a bit hard to difficult to record, so we're going to start with how the situation is really happening, and then we're going to move to what the situation is to the person who is idealizing.
God, I hate coming to this nursing home. You were reading this? They just lay these trashy books around for the old people to read. You're so old and frail. Like, do you just sit here all day watching your stories? Like, do you do anything else? 'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house, not a creature was stirring. There's also another story.
He is so cool. Look at him. It's really nice. He's reading to the old lady. It's just like an angel.
The next set of defense mechanisms are the neurotic defense mechanisms. These have short-term advantages, but long-term they create some serious problems. The first defense mechanism in the neurotic level, the third level defense mechanisms we're going to talk about, is regression. That is where you go to an earlier stage of development to handle a situation. Here is an example of regression.
Hey Mom, I just found this really awesome car online. I just sent you a link to it. How much is it? It's like $20,000. Yeah, it's just $20,000. Don't want me to... You don't want to get me this? Why? Why? It's like only $20,000. I want this car, Mom! Get me this car, not...
This is a perfect example of regression. The next defense mechanism level we're going to look at is the final defense mechanism level, and that is the mature defense mechanisms. These mechanisms are only used among emotionally healthy adults. And the very first one we're going to look at is altruism. That is when we do service to others after having problems with our ego, but it's not to gain reward of any sort. Here is an example of altruism. This is William, and he is going to give an example of altruism.
Lucia, it's been a long day at school. It's time for me to check my Facebook and see if my lifelong hero of all my life accepted my friend request. Rejected? What? Blocked? What? This has to be a mistake. What? Now, I'm just gonna go focus on giving presents to strangers. Merry Christmas. Hey stranger, have a present.
You.
Presents for all. I don't know you, but Merry Christmas. And I'll just keep this one for other people at the homeless shelter.
This is a perfect example of altruism. The next defense mechanism we're going to use is sublimation. Sublimation is where you transfer your inappropriate behaviors to healthy behaviors, such as if you are angry, taking it out on art that is beautiful versus starting a bar fight. Over here, we'll have an example of sublimation.
I've graded your papers this week. Most of you did extremely well. A+, Bambi. Good job. Nicholas, this is the worst paper I think I've ever graded in my 25 years of teaching. It's very terrible. I thought you could have done better. F-.
I'm going to write a good paper.
Meanwhile, back at his home.
Two days later.
I've graded your essays, and some of them were extremely wonderful. Nicholas, A+. I'm just as surprised as you are.
This is a perfect example of sublimation. The last defense mechanism I'm going to talk about is the last mature defense mechanism as well, and that is anticipation. That's where, instead of being upset about what's going on in the present, you realistically plan for the future. Here is an example of anticipation. Yes, I was calling to find out if I got the job at Carolina Bagel Bakery. No? Well, thank you for the consideration. Man, I didn't get that job. Well, you know what? I'm going to fill out some more applications. I've planned ahead. I guess that just wasn't the job I was supposed to get. I'm gonna go look for some more. Oh, look, here's a job at the animal shelter. I'll apply for this job. This is an example of anticipation. That is the end of my video on defense mechanisms. Thank you for watching.